Hi there, this is Laura Zam, and this is Sexual Healing Central. My guest today is Carrie Jeroslow, who is a best-selling international author. She is a conscious relationship coach and intuitive, and she's going to talk to us about how to have conscious relationships. So stay tuned. Hello, Carrie. How are you?
Hi, Laura. How are you, friend?
I'm so happy to have you here on my podcast, Sexual Healing Central.
I'm so happy to be here with you. I love you.
Likewise. All right. So for this portion, this YouTube video part, we're going to go right on into the tips. So I know that you've got 3 really amazing tips for all of us. So how can we have these? Well, just give us briefly a definition of what is a conscious relationship.
Yeah, I have heard so many different definitions, but the way that I talk about it is going into relationship being aware of myself, being aware, knowing myself as much as I can in the relationship, and understanding dynamics a little bit more, being conscious of it, not feeling a victim to what's going on any given day, at any given moment, and really allowing the space for me to understand the deeper aspects of the relationship and how it's affecting me and how it's affecting my partner, or it could be in intimate or business relationships. But coming to it more consciously, making conscious choices, thinking how I am being affected and what it is, what aspects of myself are being brought forth to make the relationship work or not work.
Thank you. That was a great explanation of what it is. Let's go on into the tips now. How can we have conscious relationships or more conscious relationships?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so my first tip would be to adopt a self-evolvement attitude. What that means is that I have a fundamental belief that I am here to evolve. So I am here to evolve as a physical body, spiritual body, emotional body, mental.
Wait, just hang on, Carrie. I'll edit this out.
Okay. I heard that phone.
They're calling me all day long. All right. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank God for editing.
Yeah, totally.
All right, let's start. I'm going to lead you in and we'll start with the first tip again after that. All right, Carrie, thank you so much for that explanation of what conscious relationships are. But how can we have these conscious relationships? I understand you have 3 tips.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And these three tips came from my own conscious relationships, of figuring it out by myself. So it's not only the advice that I give to people, but it really comes from firsthand experience. And step number 1 is adopting a self-evolvement attitude, which means that I have the fundamental belief that I am here to evolve as a spirit, evolve mentally, physically, emotionally. I am here to grow, and that everything that I draw into my life has the purpose to help me evolve. And the reason why that's so important, you'll see on the next 2 steps, is because if we don't think that we have any place to grow, then, it's easier to blame someone else for what's going on with me. But if I believe that I'm always here to grow, and I always attract things in my life that are helping me on this path of evolvement, then that's where I'm going to go to when times are challenging.
Wow. That's deep. What's the second tip you've got?
Yeah. So the second tip is about going inward when triggered. So I think that, we are in a society where we see these movies or TV shows where relationships are just happily ever after. And that is really unrealistic. And I think a lot of people, go move in and out of relationships because it isn't what they see or what they hear is this amazing soulmate relationship. In relationships, we reflect each other. We're living closely, we're going through life, and we are going to get triggered, right? But triggers are not a bad thing. I actually think triggers are really useful because triggers give me the sense that something within me is unhealed. So step 2 is going inward when triggered. So my partner does something, it really affects me. I feel physically, okay? I know myself because I've been on a self-involvement journey. I realize that inside I don't feel right. I feel upset, angry, whatever it is. And instead of saying, I need you to change to make me feel better, I say, I'm triggered, I feel it, and I need to go off and figure out why. Figure out what is unhealed within me that you have brought up, that this situation has brought up. And it becomes a very empowering process. It's hard in the beginning, right? Because we're shown that if the outside world changes, then I will be better within, right? And it's really the other way around. The healing comes from inside, and it is reflected to my outside world.
Wow. Yeah, this is so interesting because it's really talking about, it's putting a context to the kind of work that's going to the individual knowledge, the self-knowledge that is going to be this foundation so that people don't pick at each other and tear each other apart. But I don't want to get us off track because I know you've got this final tip.
Yeah, it's fun. I will say it's fundamental to know yourself before you're in relationship. I believe it can't always happen that way because of when we meet our people. But I feel like the most powerful, successful, I'm putting in quotes because I wouldn't define success as everything is just perfect and we get along all the time. But successful is we get triggered, I go off and understand what's going on, and then we have an open communication about it and we talk about it and support each other in our own growth. So that is what I say successful, but it has to start with knowing yourself or at least committing to continually understanding ourselves, and kind of peeling the layers of the onion. Yeah.
Amazing.
So step 3 would be gratitude, because gratitude helps to shift things when you're really in a crunch, and finding the lesson. So finding the lesson of why this has come into my life, why I have been triggered, what is wanting to be healed, and the lesson behind it. So I find that whenever I find the lesson, so let's give an example, like my parents got divorced. Okay. My parents got divorced when I was 12. And for the longest time, I continually blamed my father or the situation for why I couldn't have a successful relationship. Okay. And the only thing that did was perpetuate the unsuccessful relationships or the relationships that were dysfunctional. When I took the blame off of my father, the situation, and I looked at, and I kind of brought it inward, and I looked at myself and found that I would not be here in this moment in my life, have written the book, doing the coaching without that experience. I became thankful for that experience. That's where things started to shift. and not only shift internally within me, but also shift in the kinds of relationships that I was attracting. I was attracting just incredible and specifically intimate relationships where before, because my blame, I was blaming everything outside of myself and not willing to do or not able to do the internal work. I was creating relationships with men who couldn't really be in relationship with me because that was the core belief that I had. When I did all that healing, took the responsibility, came to gratitude, found the lesson of how important this experience was for me from 12 years old until now, I have brought in incredible men into my life that are doing the work themselves.
Well, it sounds like it from what you're saying that it's a way of framing what in fact is everyone in the relationship is doing this work, has excavated or has made a commitment to excavate and to have enough self-knowledge so that we're not blaming other people, we're not acting out. I just love this so much because often when couples do run into difficulty, we say, well, have you been to couples therapy? Right? But this is giving a framework to say, and I love the tips themselves, that there's some kind of, some sort of a structure here where people can be in relationship with each other, say, you know what? It's not just about fixing our problems with a therapist, although I highly recommend that if there are problems to be fixed, but here let's on an ongoing basis, because you're married, I'm married, you trigger your partner triggers you on a daily basis, many times a day.
Yes. And we have to do it. It is so empowering to say, I'm being triggered. For me, I go up to my office and I have a yoga mat there and I get on my yoga mat. And that's just my process of asking the question of understanding what's going on and doing the work. It at first, like I said, feels scary, really scary, but it is the most empowering thing when you say, you know what? Everyone that comes into my life is a gift and teaching me something that I can then evolve and grow and be more true to who I am, which is, a spirit, I believe, having a physical experience, enjoying life. I want to enjoy life more. I think everyone else does. And I really feel like conscious relating is the way to do that. And what I was going to say is that I will never work with a couple at first because I always believe you've got to work on yourself first. You need to understand who you are before coming together to work as a couple.
When you say you won't work with a couple first, meaning you'll first work with them individually?
Yeah. So I have a couple different programs, one of which is I have a conscious relationship program that's great for couples, but the first program is my relationship program, and it's really about the relationship with self. And you have to go through that before you go into the other thing, because I believe that the most success that I've seen of my clients is when they commit to doing their own personal work. And sometimes it has to be side by side. You're in relationship. You can't just pull away, and just go off to an island, work on yourself and then come back. But sometimes it has to be side by side, but it is the foundational work to do it with yourself and to establish that conscious relationship with self.
Right. Well, thank you. This has been really, really helpful. I love this. And can't wait to share in the show notes below. You'll be able to see how to get in touch with Carrie and different offerings that she has. Thank you again, Carrie, for visiting us on Sexual Healing Central.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
We'll see you soon.